Hello everybody, this is Noisecontrollers. Welcome in my studio. The studio is brand new, so I just got used to the new sound. Just got new speakers as well from Adam and I'm super excited about them. I checked them. They have a great definition of the sound, especially the mid, and I'm really happy working on them. Also really excited to do this question and answer for you. Got many questions. I love the questions and they were actually a big compliment because I was so surprised about the level of the questions, and that's a big compliment. Apparently the Noisecontroller fans are also very good producers, so let's get it started, and I hope you learned something from it. The first question from Mark van Rijswijk. In Down Down, during the last climax, you have the vocal playing on the top of the rest of the track. The vocal sounds still warm and full like in the rest of the track, yet it doesn't clash with mainly the kick. If you listen to the vocal, this is the vocal. You hear a lot of reverb and a lot of delay on it. Well, that's the first thing I do, because if you hear the vocal and after it stops immediately, that's not nice. You want to hear at least a delay and a tail on it. That way it keeps full in the mix. Second thing is that I compressed it a lot. That way there's no too much differences in dynamics. Important, because otherwise it will get difficult to mix later. Because I did that, you can approach the vocal a little bit like a lead sound. Lead sound, especially in hardstyle with those fat leads, detuned leads, they are pretty without dynamics. There's not much dynamics in it. And I did now the same with the vocal. So you can approach it as a lead sound. First you have the main lead sound, that sounds like this. You know that one. Second, you have the vocal, and it are just two lead sounds. Now what I don't want is, as soon as you hear the normal lead sound and the vocal lead sound, I just call it a lead sound now, combined that will go harder. With the result your mix can't go as loud as possible. So what I did, I put a compressor on the lead sound and I sidechain it by letting it duck as soon as the vocal, as soon as you hear the vocal. So in the result, as soon as you hear the vocal, the lead sounds will go softer, and as soon the vocal disappears, the lead sound will go louder again. Together you almost don't hear the difference. Why? I made the difference, the ducking of the lead sound, very little. And that way it sounds naturally, but together there's not much dynamics differences. And I really liked the result. Maybe I can let it hear a little bit, like this. Here's the compressor. I do it very extreme now, just to let you hear. The result is less dynamics when they are combined, and together with the kick you don't have many dynamics either, which is good for your end mix, because especially for your mastering, because your loudest part will determine how your mastering will sound, and now it's less loud, so you can master harder. Difficult to hear, but that's exactly what you want. You don't want to hear the effect, you just want to have your mix sound good. So apparently it worked, so very good question, thank you. Okay, next question's from Carl Ravelli, if I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. What was the biggest technical challenge during your career in production, and how did you overcome it? Well, if you saw my documentary, the most difficult thing I think in my career was to make the kick in hardstyle. That's always the most difficult thing, and like I explained in the documentary, what we wanted to do is make the Followers kick, a famous track of Donkey Rollers, and the kick in that track is like amazing. A few years later, when I started working at the Fusion Studios, and I met the Donkey Rollers and Zani and Misha Polle, the producer of them, they gave me the kick. I never used it, but I still have it here, and it sounds like this. This is the raw Donkey Rollers kick from the track Followers, and it's used in many other tracks. And we loved that kick. We didn't have it, so we have to make it ourselves. As soon as I got the kick, I never used it, because first of all, I achieved to make my own kick, the famous In Control kick. And second of all, I would never use someone else's kick. I'm a producer, so I want to do it myself. And yeah, I wanted to make it myself, and I succeeded in the in-control kick. That one is this. I'm gonna show you the waveform as well. It's a little bit softer in the volume now, so it sounds a little bit different, but you can see that it has the same character, and I'm really proud of it. Here's the waveform. And that was the kick used in control. That kick is used in many other hardstyle tracks of myself and other producers, and I think that's my biggest achievement and contribution to the hardstyle scene. So thank you for that question. Eduardo Latella, he asked, I actually have an amazing question. Well, we'll see, we'll decide about that. When you're asked to make an anthem, what happens? You just make it and that's it? Or is there a lot of back and forth between you and the one who commissions it? Like big promoters who organize a big festival to do an anthem. Do they tell you, I want this type of sound, or is it all about the producer and can he decide it? Well, if they ask me to do an anthem, I assume they want a typical Noisecontroller sound, so they don't ask me what kind of sound they want. But of course there's a team most of the times on a party or a big festival. And of course you want to produce something that fits to that theme. For example, a DEF CON has a totally different atmosphere than, let's say, a Climax, which is a little bit more dark or more harder. It's an indoor festival, while Decibel, for example, is an outdoor festival. It's more likely to have sunny weather with it. So yes, I do take it in consideration a lot. Which is difficult, because when I'm in the studio and I start a new track, I just go with the flow, I see what happens. Sometimes I want to produce a really hard track, which resulted in a very soft track. Sometimes the other way around, and I really want to make like a really easy, soft track, and it became like a raw hardstyle track. So you can never tell what happens in the studio, but with an anthem you'll have to have some guidelines to produce something. I try to stick to it, and I try to find a certain theme or gimmick in my track that suits the theme. And as soon as I have that, I start producing, and then yeah, I will send it to the promoter, ask them what they want. I like feedback, but it's also difficult if I'm really enthusiastic or really excited about something. I will not change it. So it is just give something and receive something, and most of the times it always worked great, so I never had to change something I didn't want to, because I won't do it. On the other hand, I never got feedback that people were not happy, so that's a good thing. And that's basically it. I'm trying to stick to the theme, which is difficult because I want to go with the flow, but in the end it always worked out, so thank you. Next question is from Carol Dominiak. I hope I pronounced it right. 2 questions. Should kick to be the loudest sound in a mixdown? I mean in the graphical way. And the second question is, when you make a kick, should punch be always louder than till? In graphical way too. Okay, so first question is your kick the loudest thing in your mixdown? Yes, it is. Our kicks in hardstyle especially has a lot of low frequencies in it. And in a graphical way, the low frequencies are always loudest. If I go to an analyzer, here's a kick. Let's throw it in. If I go to the equalizer, which is right here, this is basically your kick, and as you can see it's around this point, always the loudest part in your mixdown. Leads go a lot softer. If I hit a key, they come around the green line, so that's a lot softer, so yes, that's always true. But I think you mean in the level output, and that's around your output right here. Here as well, your kick is always loudest, so it will show as much the loudest part in your mixdown. Lead sounds mostly, but it's not always the case, are like 2 decibel less in the mixdown. But it also depends on what kind of lead you're using. So your kick is definitely loudest in your mixdown. And the second question you asked, when you make a kick, should punch be always louder than till? Well, there are no rules in music production, so it shouldn't be always the case. But in general, I prefer the punches of my kick and the tills the bass line basically, to be exactly the same level. So in a waveform, this is no kick, which is difficult. Well, this is the punch. Let me show it this way. You see it reaches about, well, this point, and this is the tail. And as expected, it is about the same, so always try to level those together. Again, it's not a rule. If your kick has a lot of high-end mid frequencies in the attack, it could be a little bit softer, otherwise around if it's like a very soft or not high frequenced attack, you might put it a little bit harder, but be careful with that. Next question, can you give us some tips to make melodies? I'm sorry, I cannot. Melodies are all about taste. So if you make something which you like, it is a good melody, and it doesn't matter what other people or what I think about it. So always follow your heart, and what you think is a good melody to you. So I can't give you any tips. Maybe playing a piano or some kind of keys would help, make it easier to try out melodies. But in the end, it's all about your own taste. And the second question you asked, Corey, was, is it necessary to study and get certificates to DJing and produce music, or just with a little knowledge and talent you can do it as well? I think a little knowledge can help, talent can help even more, but in the end it's all about motivation. Good producing takes not hours or days or months, it takes years. And to keep doing it for years, you have to have a motivation, you have to love what you're doing, and that's how you become a good producer, in my opinion. There's no way to try to learn it at a school or to do it because you want to become a DJ, for example. I know some producers who only produce because they want to become a DJ, and they're not famous DJs, and for good reason, I think. I believe if you only produce, they're not good producers, I mean, actually. As DJs they are good, but they're not good producers, and that's because they don't have the right motivation to make music. And if you're really into producing, you have no problem to do it for months, years, and even longer, and that way your music got good. And of course, some tools help. You can follow a course or ask other producers to help you stuff. Probably this Q&A will help you maybe, but in the end it's just trial and error and practice a lot. And the next question is from Kyle Nurse. What's the most important thing you've learned from the amateur stage to the professional producer? That's a difficult question. It's a two-way answer, I think. First of all, nothing at all. I mean, before, to me, professionally meant that I released music professionally. People were selling my music. And before, the only ones who heard it was myself and some friends. So, but in the studio, there was no difference at all. On the other hand, as soon as I made the decision to go professional, I bought some more professional studio material, which you can also do when you're just you make music for your hobby. The first thing I bought was like a keyboard, speakers, monitor speakers, by far not as good one as those anthems. But I bought just cheap ones, just to have a little bit more reverberation and a little bit more dynamic, yeah, just good ears basically. Later I bought a synth, and that went on during my career as a professional to buy more equipment, which is not necessarily, by the way. But there wasn't, for the rest, not much difference. I started making music on my computer as a hobby when I was young, and at a certain point people start selling it. And that maybe was the difference. And after I started performing on stages, and of course my whole life changed. But in the studio never changed a lot. I just do what I love, and I will always do that, even if I'm not a professional anymore. So. Okay, the next question is by Lars Reamp. He asked, how do you get those weird, awesome, robotic growl sounds? Well, thanks for the compliment, you like those. I heard this question a lot more, and I use some different techniques on it. First of all, this is where the growl is. Now let me go to the channel strip. I'm gonna just strip it down a little bit. I start with just one sound. Well, how to make this sound is really another story, but to answer the question, what is more interesting is how do I pitch it and tweak it a lot. And I use a vocal transformer on that, and what this thing can do, this plugin, is to defer the pitch, to change the pitch, and the formant. And the formant is very important to make like human sounding sounds. And I'm gonna just let you hear the result. Let me loop it. Gives a cool effect, and I can also change the pitch. Now you already hear like really strange, different robotic sounds. Now it doesn't sound fat, it's actually very thin. That's because there are no low frequencies in it. And what I do to get some low frequencies is just a sub. Together it sounds like, already sounds much fatter. I don't know if you hear it on the system right now, but it's just like bass sound with it. I put some more plugins on it. Basically some compressors and equalizers, but that's just for mixing. It doesn't change that much on the sound, so forget about these. I just put them on now for the result. Now together with the bass and a kick, it sounds like this. Also crashes here, but you get the point. And this way it sounds like very fat. You hear a kick, you hear a crash, you hear a sweep even. I don't think, yeah, there's a little sweep here. Altogether it sounds big, but now the most difficult part was to pitch it and to make a whole arrangement with it. So if I let you hear the rest of this part. As you hear here, the key is higher, and what I did here is basically with the pitch function of this plugin and change the pitch. It's just higher pitched, and that way you can change with chords. Here's also. Let's see what the plugin does. It's this thing again. You see the formant changing. And if you just tweak a little bit with that, you get a cool pitching, formanty sound. And that's how I did it. This is the climax anthem of 2014. And yeah, that break is pretty epic. I used some other sounds as well in it, but those are not growls. But I hope you learned something from this part. Ilya asked the next question. How did you use the saxo sound, the saxophone sound on Solar? Did you use a plugin, or did you make it yourself, or did you use a sample? I used a sample, but a specific kind of sample. In Logic you can use CAF files. And what that file does, you can change the length of the file, and you can also change the pitch very easy, the tune of the sample very easy. And here you have it, the file. This is what it sounds raw. Already the length of the file is already adjusted. Now I put some reverb on it and a delay. Now what is easy about this sample is you can change the pitch very easy, for example like this. That sounds weird. So that way you can very easy put the sample in key, but there are also other tricks for that. You can use Melodyne, you can time stretch. There are many tricks to adjust the sample for that matter. I did it this way because it's very easy, and we put some reverb and delays on it, and that way it sounded really nice. And that's how it's done. So it's basically a sample, but in the end a very easy sample from CAF, which you can use easy. It's used by Logic a lot, and I like that very much. Ivan asked how I make my kick effects. I got many people asking this question. How do I make those tricks with kicks and those very Noisecontrollers particular effect sounds with the kicks. Basically, especially what I used in the past was a bank full of hardcore kicks. You can just download those, or you can find them everywhere on the internet. They sound like this. Now, these are just a whole bunch of samples. I load them in the sampler. That way you can put every different sample on a different key of your keyboard. And for the rest, I use some plugins on it, a delay and a distortion. And I used a filter, and in the end it sounded like this. Now, because you put all those sounds in a sampler and you have a lot of control about it, you can change the sound. Well, typical those kind of sounds I just use as tricks and effects on my kicks. And it's just a lot of hardcore samples, and after you put it in a sampler, so you have a lot of control about it, and you just tweak it until you find it sound cool. And that's basically it, so not that difficult. Seth Castro asked me if playing an instrument helps you in the studio or it makes your music better. Makes me a little bit think about a previous question, how you make your melodies. You don't need to play any instrument to produce music, because you can do it all in the box. To me it is though handy to have a little bit experience with playing keys. It's not necessary, but I can give you an example why it can become handy. For example, if you listen to Solar, and if I just play the saxophone alone, it's like this. Now, if I want to find some chords under it, it's very easy to just play have some experience on the keys. Now, those chords are the ones we used in Solar, but if you want to find other chords, you can just tweak around, just try stuff if you're able to play keys. And I'll give you an example. That way you can find all kinds of chords, and at the moment you think like, oh, this sounds cool, then you're going to use those chords, and you just open your piano roll, and you can draw them into the piano roll, and you don't have to record them, but just to try things out in the studio, it's very easy. For example, when I open my Virus, that's this synthesizer, I like to just tweak around, play some things, put it a little bit harder. And that way you can just try out things. So that's really easy to have the keyboard and to have a little bit of experiences on the keys. And not too much, but it can become handy. Okay guys, I answered some questions. I couldn't do them all, but I will respond on all the questions on my Facebook page where you drop the questions. I love doing this. It's not my first time. I should do it much more. The questions were really great. It reveals a lot about your music experience and production skills. I love doing this and I will do it more. A lot of thanks for bax-shop and Anthems. They make it possible, and I love the Anthems speakers so far. So I'm definitely gonna use them till they are finished. Again, I love to do this. Thank you so much for all the questions. I love my fans and hope to do this soon again. Bye bye.